in my opinion, the biggest news of all in the last few months was that Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, dumped bank stocks, and he dumped airline stocks, and he got into Barrick Gold. In other words, he shifted into gold mining, and he and his buddy Munger, have badmouthed gold forever. Now, they own some silver, but they badmouth gold forever. And so that is the biggest news of all, because it says something is really fundamentally changed in America. Foundationally. If airlines are going, if he's dumping airline stocks and he's dumping bank stocks, the question is, what does that mean?
And IM all say that this is not likely something that Buffett put into play himself. This might very well be Todd Combs or Ted Weschler, the two guys that he has put in charge of the overall Berkshire portfolio.
And CNBC and the other, CNBS as they call it, they don't cover it. Nobody covers it. And this is bigger, Trump or Biden, it's important. But Buffett going into Barrick Gold is 1,000 times bigger news to all of us, because Trump or Biden have no possible power. They cannot stop what's about to happen. So let me say it again. The biggest news of all is not Trump or Biden or COVID. It's Warren Buffett dumping bank stocks. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? And dumping airline stocks. And then buying Barrick Gold. We don't know what else he's bought. And the question is, what does that really...
Robert, you're, making some observations that the mainstream financial media is completely ignoring. You're asking questions that not only don't they have the answers to, but they're not even smart enough to ask the questions. When you see a guy like Warren Buffett moving into a Barrick Gold, as to what does this imply as far as what Warren Buffett's outlook is for the U.S. economy, and for the dollar, and for inflation, and for the bond market. And, when Buffett was bad-mouthing gold in the past, what he really was saying was that gold is not the best hedge against inflation. It's a non-productive asset. It just sits there. And Warren Buffett always says that he likes to own businesses, not even stocks. He likes to buy businesses. And obviously he does that through the stock market, but he's investing in underlying businesses because he thinks that businesses provide a good hedge against inflation. They have real assets. You can raise prices. It's just that now I think Warren Buffett realizes that inflation is going to be much worse in the future than it's been in the past. And Warren Buffett knows that during periods of very high inflation, which we've had in the past, that's when gold really shines. So I think what this move shows you is that Buffett now understands that the traditional hedges that he's used for inflation are not going to be adequate for the severity of what's coming, because Buffett knows what inflation is. He defines it as an increase in the money supply. He correctly labels it as a tax. And so he knows it. He knows it's just not rising prices. He could see the Federal Reserve debasing the dollar. He sees the deficits. He sees all the spending. And so he understands gold's going to go up. But I think the reason he chose to buy a gold mining company rather than just the metal is because he likes the business aspect of Barrick Gold, because they make money mining gold, and he's not even buying their income streams. But when you buy Barrick Gold, you are in effect buying all the gold in the ground in the mines that they own. So it is a very, very bullish bet on gold, and it's a way for Buffett to be in the business of mining a commodity that he knows is going to be far more valuable in the future than it is today.
So, Peter, this is my question to you. If you could get into Buffett's head, and there's two heads, two thoughts. Why would CNBC not cover it? Why would they not cover it? And the other question is, what are they afraid of? What do you think Buffett sees that I know you see? I think I see, because I've been in it since I was a kid. But I see something not so good, and this is global again, not U.S. What do you think he sees coming?
I mean, obviously the talking heads on CNBC want to put on a happy face. They want to pretend everything is great, the economy is great, there's nothing to worry about, and so they're really just dismissing the significance of what Buffett has done by saying, well, it's a small investment, which is true, but we have no idea how many more shares he may have purchased since the end of the second quarter. And of course, how do we know that this is just not the beginning of a major shift? I mean, every journey starts with the first step. And so how do we know that Buffett has completed his journey into the gold sector with this purchase of Barrick? We don't.
Suddenly, Buffett loves gold. He hates gold. Well, he's buying the company, and let's remember, it fits a lot of his criteria. It generates a huge amount of income, $4 billion last year.
But the mainstream financial media is afraid to look into the aspect for what it might reveal. And they normally love talking to Warren Buffett. Nobody has interviewed Warren Buffett. I haven't seen a single interview since this news came out where he was on any network discussing why that decision was made. And personally, I think that Buffett is a pretty shrewd guy, and the people that work for him. And if I'm right that this is just the beginning of a major shift, and if Warren Buffett intends to buy more gold stocks, the last thing he would want to do is come out in the open and tell everybody why he's buying, because he doesn't want to have a lot of competition. I mean, a lot of people are going to follow in his footsteps. And if he wants to buy gold stocks, he wants to do it quietly. He doesn't want to make a big deal about it. He just wants to buy as much as he can for as cheap as he can.